Hey, welcome. This is Matt Dukes, and I am on my first broadcast of Higher Powered Radio. So I appreciate everybody tuning in. I'm just going to catch up a little bit. I've done this a little bit before last year, if you remember, and we were on a show that talked a lot about the influences in our lives and how they impact our daily routines. And so I wanted to come back on, and I wanted to be able to really speak to a lot of the issues that we have and how we do respond to them, and what an impact we have in others' lives. So it's interesting as we start this is the facts that I have been, and I'll give you a little bit of background. I have been, for instance, sober for the last 23 years. All right, so I haven't drank or I haven't gotten high or anything. But prior to that, I lived a life that was pretty wild. And so I think some of the best experiences that we get are those that help formulate the character that we express or that we have today. I know everybody's driving home and they're listening on the radio, and it's Friday and it's 5 o'clock, and if they've got a life like I've got, have gone through a week that we're in the third week of March. We're not even finished closing the first quarter of 2019. If you're on social media, you can follow me live on Higher Powered FM, and you can catch that stuff. So you'll see that, I'm in my early to mid 50s. I'm a white male. I'm single. I'm Christian. I'm conservative, or kind of follow the Constitution a little bit. And I can tell you that the stuff that's happened in my background and past definitely is what drives us today. And so as I start to watch people and I see how we react, or we judge, or we condemn, or we have conflict, or we look at all of those things in our lives. For instance, right before I got here to the studio, I stopped in to get a Red Bull, and I can drink those things like scotch. That was something in my life that just became a common part of. But I'm standing in line and I'm watching this woman that's in front of me, and she's counting out money to buy a beer and 2 packs of cigarettes. And I'm thinking back going, man, I can remember days when that became the norm, or when it was transitioning from that to who I am today. And I can remember the times that I looked for what the hope was in my life. And so today we have situations where, coming out of an environment where we work 40 hours and I work 55 hours a week, and we have conflict in our belief systems, we have conflict in our society, we have conflict in traffic, like most of you sitting there now. We're looking at the person that's either not going fast enough in front of us, trying to cut in front of us, or what that looks like, so they can get home and avoid the conflict that they're either experiencing in their job or those other relationships, or they're experiencing the anxieties now of going home and having conflict with the spouse or the neighbor or the kids, or whether the kids are or not going to be there, or what all of that stuff looks like. So I guess one of the things that really kind of motivated me to be able to sit here and talk a little bit about some of my experiences is, where is that hope? Where do we get that peace? Where do we get that comfort? Where do we get that release from being able to say to somebody else, dude, you can go and come and do and be whoever you want to be. Just try not to infringe on my life. Because as I watch things like in politics today or in the religion today, that's what I'm noticing most of the stuff that comes from. The conflict that people are having is not so much because of who they are, but it's more out of the fear, the concern of how it's going to affect my life. I don't want to talk one topic on itself about politics, because that's so overdone. There's so much conflict and all of that kind of stuff. But the one common thing that I see that runs through all that stuff is that fear of, if you're successful at it, that means that I must be wrong with what I've done. And I see that with employers. I see that with coworkers. I see that in relationships with siblings, with family members, where if you're successful, if you're doing well, or if you're participating in, then man, that must mean that I'm not good enough, I'm not working hard enough, or I'm not going to be successful at what I'm doing. And that's a lie. That stuff's not really factual. That's not really what life's really supposed to be about. And so I guess the question is, how do we bring that into the forefront of our lives? How do I develop that so I start living out of that place, instead of having to worry about the rat race, How do I worry about having less conflict in my life? And how do I not worry about whether I'm being the best person that I can be? So I just want to let you know that I'm going to step aside for 2 minutes. This is Higher Powered Radio, and I'm Matt Dukes.